Manager here at MobileSmith. Today we are going to be doing covering the app submission to the stores part 2. Tony is going to continue on with this. He did a great job last week, and this week we're going to be covering creating your push certificate, API key, and project IDs, and your mobile provisioning profile. How to get those all set up for your iOS, Android, and enterprise builds. And just as a reminder, we do have the youtube.com/mobilesmith, and you can go to the Client Success webinar playlist to see all these previous webinars we've done, including part 1, which was last week, of how to start setting up your account for submission. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony.
All right, thanks, Tracy. So I'll be jumping into showing you where in the MobileSmith platform first, where to add these app-level assets. So I'm already logged in, so if you want to follow along or just check it out, I'll be going into an app that is done. So I have my app designed and built out and ready to deploy. I already have my account level assets in there for distributing apps, and I want to, specifically for this app, build out the necessary assets to submit to the store. So we'll primarily be in the App Store section in the MobileSmith platform for your app. The first thing we'll take a look at is push credentials. So these assets allow you to send out push notifications to your users. There's a set for iOS and there's a set for Android, and I'll be showing you how to create those in a little bit here. The next section that we'll focus on is build for distribution. We'll want a few things for Apple specifically, a version number, a bundle ID, and a provisioning profile. And this is where you'll also check enterprise app. If it's a private app or enterprise app, we'll make sure to check that box. So these two sections, push credentials and build for distribution, are what we'll be going over and building out today for your app for distribution to the stores or privately. So I'll go ahead and jump in and start with the Android side. I'm in console.developers.google.com. That is the Google developer console for building out your API key and project ID, which basically allows you to send push notifications to your users. So I'll get started by creating a new project, giving it a name, and hitting create. Well, seems like I have too many app projects created, so let me switch over to another account. Okay, sorry about that. We're in Google Developer Console, or want to create a project. So again, we'll click the Create Project button. Why is it so slow? Okay, so let that create. Oh, goodness, are you serious? All right, well, we're having some technical difficulties. Let's move on to iOS. We'll come back to Android later. So I'm going to go ahead and create the bundle ID, the push certificate, and mobile provisioning profile needed for your app. So I'm in Apple Developer, and I'm going to do this with our enterprise account, and the same rules apply for enterprise or public developer, depending on how you want to distribute your app. The process is the same, creating these assets. Just remember that you will have to log into your enterprise if you want to distribute privately, or you have to log into your public developer account if you want to submit to the store. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about how you want to distribute your app. So we'll jump right into, first thing would be identifiers. And I'll create a new app ID for this project. Next thing we'll do is give it a bundle ID. Apple helps you out here with this example, so you can follow along. And the next thing we'll want to do under App Services is check push notifications. That's basically allowing us to send the users of your app push notifications. So it's going to ask you to review. Ask you to review and submit to create. You'll want to notate this com.mobilesmith.to for your app in the platform. So it's a good idea to either create a notepad or a text file and copy these down. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so the next step would be creating your push certificate. So we'll go ahead and click the plus button under the certificates section in the left-hand side. So under production, we're going to want an Apple Push Notification Service SSL production. So we'll check that, hit continue. And also a side note, this part does require doing this on a Mac. So you'll need a Mac computer to be able to complete this step right here. So the next step would be to select the app ID that we just previously created. There it is. Then hit continue. The next step is, if you haven't already on your Mac have created a CSR file, you'll need to do so. I already have one, so I'll just continue. And then hit generate. So once this has been generated, we'll want to download it. And from the downloads, we can open that right into our Keychain Access program. The next step will be exporting this certificate as a P12 file, which will be needed to upload into your app in the MobileSmith platform. So we'll expand the certificate and highlight our keychain and the certificate, and we can either do a file export items, or you can right-click and export. Then we'll give it a name. I suggest calling it the name of your app and then push certificate. And then save it somewhere you can easily get back to it. the next step and the last step in exporting this P12 file is assigning it a password. This is also something you'll need for the MobileSmith platform, and I suggest copying that down into your text file. So once we've done that, we can hit OK. And come back to Apple Developer for one last item, which will be under Provisioning Profiles. So we'll click Provisioning Profiles, and then the plus button again. And this is basically saying how we want to distribute this app, and it will be in-house or private distribution. So we'll check that and hit Continue. Select the app ID we previously created. And then hit Continue. Select the distribution certificate, which we created 2 weeks ago. Hit Continue. And then give it a name. And then hit Generate. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and download that mobile provisioning profile and place it into our folder. You'll also need this file to upload in the MobileSmith platform. So we can actually go over to the platform, and I can show you where we'll start to add these assets we're creating. So under Push Certificate, we can go ahead and find that file we just created and upload it. The password was when we exported it from our Keychain Access program. So we'll type that in there and click Add. Then we could go to Build for Distribution and enter in our bundle ID, which we notated in our text file. The version, it's always a good idea to start with 1.0. And then the last thing we could do is add our provisioning profile. And then click Save. Oh, and also remember, again, if this is an enterprise or private distribution app, we'll want to check that. So the last thing, which we started with, but I was unable to create it because I have too many in my account, was our Android browser API key and project number. So I will attempt to show you that one more time. Nope, too many.
Is that a common problem that people see with having too many Androids?
Yes, so Google has updated their developer console because I'm sure the reason is because people were creating too many and it's probably clogging up their server. So they put a limit on it, but you can request more. So you can always request more if it rejects you creating a new project. They have a link to a request form, so you could ask for more.
Okay.
But for the purposes of this webinar, I'd really like to show you how to create this. So trying to think of another account we can use. Okay. All right, so again, we'll create project. Let it finish. So from here, we can go ahead and see that it created a new project. We can expand this to get the project number here, which you will need. So you could copy and paste that into your text file for later reference. And you can also just switch back over if you still have the app open in the platform, paste it into the push credentials section. So the next, and that's automatically created when you create a project. It's automatically assigned a number. All you have to do is basically copy and paste it into the platform. The next thing we'll want to do is create a API key that will allow you to send push notifications to your users. So we will go to this box right here and enable and manage APIs. The only one that we want to configure for Android. So we'll click that. And so now that we've enabled the use of this API, we want to create a key. So we'll go to credentials and API credentials. So we'll add a browser key. And then hit create. So we want this number, or this API key string of letters and numbers here, send to our text file, so we could use for reference later. And then we could also just, again, we can paste it right into the platform and hit save. So now that we've actually created everything that you need to submit to the stores, as well as build or distribute the app privately, we can go ahead and do a build for distribution. You'll get that email, and depending on if you're submitting to the store or distributing the app privately, you'll want to click the link in the email to either grab your files to submit to the stores, or that link you can share to whoever you want to download the app if it's being distributed privately. So with that being said, and we went over this, we'll go ahead and field some questions. You could type that in the GoToWebinar box, and we'll receive them and answer them.
All right, so the question is coming in, what happens if you try to do a build for distribution and you have set something up wrong? Or you're missing one of these things? Will it go through?
No, it will not go through. So if you try to tap this, or if you try to click this build for distribution button, and it doesn't like something, it'll give you this error here. And it will what is missing. So to go back and do a new, it'll say, oh no, it seems, please add them to revoke. And that's the sender ID, that's the browser API key and project number we deleted. So it'll tell you what you're missing when you click that build for distribution button, if you are missing anything.
And it says, does Apple have any limitation on the number of apps that you can have like Android has?
No. That is one good thing about Apple. They have not put a limit on how many projects that you create in your developer account.
Are there any other questions at this time? All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending. We will be posting this to our webpage, and so you'll be able to access that off the webpage onto the YouTube channel. Next week, we're going to be covering part 3 of submitting your apps to the stores. We're going to be covering screenshots, app icons, descriptions, and keywords. That will, next week or in 2 weeks, that will conclude our webinar series for the year. If you have any topics you'd like to see covered in 2016, please let somebody on this team know, and we'll get those added into the schedule. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great day. Thank you, Tony. You did a wonderful job.